Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Rocco and I do DAS 3D videos to help you to get the most out of your own renders. So we have our idea, we have our model, we have our setting, we've all set up our lighting. All that's left to do now is to sit back, hit render and wait for everything to finish. Well, that's not quite right. There's another important thing that we have to consider, and that is the composition of our image. Now, if you're not quite sure what that means, think of it like this. The things I just mentioned there, the model, the setting, the lighting, think of these as your ingredients. Composition is putting all of those ingredients together to make your final cake, or in our case, the final image. Now, if we take a look at what we have here in the viewport, we have a model, a fierce, battle-worn warrior stood with a bloodied axe in hand in a forest, waiting for or expecting something to happen. Now, all of those ingredients that we've just mentioned, along with our composition of our scene, all come together to create this final image. Get it right and you can turn a good image into a great image. Get it wrong and everything can end up a bit of a disjointed mess. Now, there's no real hard and fast rules to competition. There's no ABC strategy that we can follow that will guarantee greatness. It's very subjective. A lot of it is instinct, a feel for what's right and what isn't right, a feel for what's good and what isn't good. Maybe that's where the artistry and creativity comes into it, which is going to be unique and individual to every single one of us. However, there are a couple of things that we can consider when putting together our image that have kind of become a rule of thumb over the years. And one of those things is a subject of this video, which is the rule of thirds. Now, the rule of thirds is a technique that was developed during the Renaissance period, and it was said to aesthetically improve paintings and make them more compelling. It was also used to discourage placing subjects in the centre of the canvas, and from actually having horizons that effectively cut images in half. Now, to this day, the rule of thirds is just as important when it comes to compositing images, whether it's in art, photography, film, TV, and of course, in respect of ourselves, 3D renders. But you'll actually see it all around you when you're actually looking for it. I noticed it on a TV show that I was watching last night. They were doing it all the time. Now, the basic idea is to imagine that your image is split into 9 equal parts created by 2 horizontal lines and 2 vertical lines running down the screen, and then placing your subjects actually where these lines intersect. Well, fortunately, we don't actually have to imagine, as DAS helps us out here. Up here in the viewport, you can see this little menu button, which is the 4 lines and a little arrow, this one just here. If we give that a click, and just shows this little menu, we can see here show thirds guide, which is an option that we've got with the viewport. And when we give it a click, we can see that DAS conveniently places the guides and splits our image up into the 9 pieces, like I said, and gives us these lines. And it's at these lines up and down where we should be placing images and important elements within our scene to create this aesthetically pleasing and compelling look. Now, as you can see here, I have this particular model in the centre of the viewport between the 2 vertical lines. You'll probably see this a lot with a lot of images that I do, or even these videos, where I do centre the subject in the centre of the viewport, because I'm not applying the rules of thirds. And the reason for this is that I actually like to work in this 10 by 13 aspect ratio, which you can just make out up there in the top left corner of the viewport. And the reason for that is just easier to display on various social media galleries where I put up images, or it's easier for you guys to see things because it means I can have these images or the menu options either side quite wide so you can see what's going on. Now, even though this is a thin viewport though, and therefore a thin final image, if we were to render it out, you can actually still apply the rule of thirds. Things may be a little bit squashed up, but you can still do it. And what I do is I have a camera here set up to do that very thing. So if I come up there and just come to this camera there, we can see we've just made the image a little bit offset and put the character over on the left on this vertical line here. Now, the reason why I've chosen that way is that really what we should be doing, we should be looking at either the direction of travel of the model that we're looking at, or the the direction that he or she is looking in, and we should put her on the opposite side of that. So if because she's looking over to her left, we should put her on our left on this vertical line on the right. If her head was turned the other way and she was looking in this direction where my cursor is, we would put her on this vertical line, just so that we can then follow the eyes to see where she was looking. But she's looking to her left, so we put her on our left vertical axis, as you can see. Now, if I put up on the screen now a render of the model when she was centered, as you can see there, and then swap it over to where I have applied the rules of third, according to the theory, and maybe it's a subjective thing, but according to the theory, the rule of thirds version should appeal to us a little bit more. Okay, there's little difference there between the two images. I did slightly rotate her arm a little bit to include the axe on this image, and a bit of the foreground foliage has moved, but I don't know, let me know down in the comments if the rule of thirds theory works for you. Whether you like the overall image or not, that's not really the point. It's just which of the two works better. Now, maybe it can be seen more easily in a larger image. This is a 16:9 ratio image, basically a HD image. There she is in the center, but as you can see, either side, left and right, there's a lot of space, empty dead space either side to her. So her just standing in the middle of such a large image like this maybe doesn't work quite so well. But if we now were to replace that with an image where she is offset again to the left, applying the rules of thirds, is there something about it that's a little bit more appealing? It kind of is to me. I don't know about yourself. Again, let me know down in the comments what you think. Is the rule of thirds doing something to our brains that makes things a little bit more aesthetically pleasing or not? Thanks very much. That's the rule of thirds. It's something to consider when you are doing your images and you're putting your images together and building up your scenes. Start applying the rule of thirds, and maybe things will improve without you having to do much more work or much more effort. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.